Welcome to the Model Rail Replacement Podcast, helping you get to your onward journey. A friendly service that helps you get from A to B, or probably nowhere at all.
Hello and welcome to the Model Rail Replacement Podcast. I'm your host, James, and this week we managed to get Steve out of the door. But Sam is lost down the back of the sofa, I think. He's that small. So we got a replacement in. And our co-host for this week is Tom. Hello, Tom. How are you?
Hi, Sam. How's it going?
You've done it again. You've confused us.
Sorry.
We're two different people.
Hi, James.
You are. Well, I'm good. Well, after this weekend, or as of when this episode should be out, people should have been able to witness in public me and Sam in the same building and realise that we are not the same person.
No, you're at least 4 foot taller than him.
At least. As I say, he is lost down the back of the sofa with the loose coins, the very rare loose coins, because obviously no one carries cash anymore.
Yeah, that's true.
So there we are. How are you anyway? How have you been?
Yeah, good. I've been busy. I've been all the way down to as far south as you can get before getting to France, down to Fareham for their Rail-X at the weekend, which was nice. Got to see the good little southern boy, which is always nice. So yeah, that was good. Long journey back, probably about 5-hour drive on Sunday night. So yeah, long weekend, but worthwhile in the end.
That's cool. So yeah, so he is about. He's just refusing to podcast.
Yeah. That's the long and very, very short of it, yeah.
It's ever since he got that Horby Magazine nomination, it's gone to his head. He thinks he's better than us now.
You're joking. That's all he was talking about. We went out for dinner on Saturday night. Literally, every subject was, so Hornby Magazine this, Hornby Magazine that. Seriously, he's awful man. Awful man.
And we have to make sure we have to say something so we can't cut this out. So we managed. Me and Steve managed to do it last week. He could cut out that comment. So.
Brilliant.
And I listened back to it and made sure it was still there. So yeah, that sounds cool then. So nice little trip all the way down south. But of course, this weekend just gone, you did get to go to a model railway exhibition.
That was great. Getz was first time I've ever been. It's exactly how I imagined it would be. So
Who thought Noel Edmonds would have been there?
Well, I did actually. He emailed me beforehand to say that he was going. So. Yeah, it was a good show though, wasn't it? And congratulations to Charlie, of course, for winning all of those awards.
That was unexpected. It really was. I didn't see that coming.
No, I didn't even know he was a manufacturer.
No. But there you go. It's a free for all with that award system. But there we are. So, yeah.
See, we're joking about it, but come next week or whenever this goes out, that's Charlie will have won because he always does.
Yeah, he does. He puts a lot of effort into that channel, and he's winning the award. Get my words out is a well deserved for Charlie. I think he does a lot of good for the hobby. However, I do think it's time to retire him into some sort of Champions League to give someone else a chance.
Yeah. Who did you vote for, James?
Who did I vote for? I hated myself for it, but I did vote for the Emperor's Path. I mean, you had to really.
So
yeah.
Would be funny if he won.
we're just bigging up Charlie. There he is. Yeah. Somehow Sam got the winning votes. Maybe he will. Maybe that'll be the power of the podcast.
Should we record alternate versions of this little speech just in case? We'll do one. Yeah.
Congratulations. Yeah. Do you know what was the biggest surprise it gets, Tom?
What?
Sam winning the Layout Builder YouTube channel award.
Sorry, I can't take this serious. No, yeah. Congratulations, Hilton from Proper Chuffed. I think he deserved that win. That was a big surprise.
It was absolutely, but yeah, no, yeah,
And
wonderful.
insert name here for
That's
everybody else who entered. Yeah, you all deserve
yeah.
to win.
Lucy Arkham.
Yeah.
Who else is in there? Oh, Everhard Junction, obviously, for that one video he's done this year.
Everard Junction. Yeah, I mean, I love his channel. It was a bit odd that he was included this year when he'd admit himself he hasn't done he hadn't done a video in over 12 months, I think.
Yeah, I think he could try and cover himself by putting a video out there, but to class it as a layout builder would be a bit far fetched because it was mostly house building. He was in the video, but
That's true.
he's done a wonderful job. I was like, do you know what? It looks fabulous. His house looks absolutely fabulous, especially he's done the work himself. But yeah, no, we do love Everard Johnson's channel here. We're just having a bit of fun. But yeah, I think congratulations to all that got nominated for the awards, including YouTube and the various manufacturers. Hopefully, yourself might get something. I know I put a vote in for you.
Oh, thank you. I know I put a vote in for me as well. No, I didn't really. I voted for Neil, a little layouts company. And he voted for me, so we've cancelled each other out.
Cancelled each other out. Yeah. That's the one of the cookie. It would be model you that would take the crown from you, but that's well deserved as well. But yeah, no, as we say, it's not happened yet. We'll just have to wait to see this weekend what happens. Yeah, I'm looking forward to going. I'll be quite fun.
I'm really
and actually go. Yeah, going in a socialising aspect of it. Usually I just go to make a YouTube video to try and get some numbers on my channel, but
that's what I'm sort of looking forward to, not having to work at a show, because I've been to all the big shows in the last 3 years, and I think the only show that I've been to, like a big show, that was just for fun was Model Rail Scotland. Last year we went. I think it was last year we went up. And it was so nice to actually go to a show, look at layouts, and I still had people come up and who recognised me from YouTube or whatever and chat with me, which is nice. But I wasn't constantly rushing to get back to the stand or on my way to somewhere else. I could actually stop and chat to people. So I'm kind of looking forward to that this weekend.
Yeah, it will. Yeah, and obviously we're meeting up all as the most common appearances of the MERP family, as Steve called it. I think it's the first time we'll be getting a group together to meet up, so that'd be interesting. We'll find out if we actually do like each other or not, don't we? So yeah, I've not got many hopes. But somehow I think Sam will spoil it, like he always does.
If he even turns up.
If he's sulking in the evening because he didn't win.
No, he did win. Remember, we've recorded that.
Oh yeah. He'll be overly drunk because he won and lording it up over everyone. That's what he can edit this.
Steve will just be drunk anyway.
I was expecting Steve to turn up drunk at 9:30 in the morning, to be honest. He said he's getting there at 8:30, so that gives him an hour at least to pop into Asda and get a bottle of wine. So
yeah, that's true.
There we go. So yeah. I'll tell you what though, I'm pleased it's punched this week.
Oh, sorry, I forgot there was something important happened. Yeah, you had something, some little magazine or something. I can't remember. You explain it.
Yeah, there's a little. I don't know if you heard of this magazine. It's called Railway Modeller.
No, I haven't.
No, it's a little publication. I think it just pops up overnight, to be honest. But
90 issues ago.
That's it.
No, sorry, 900 issues ago. 900.
No. Yes, because the 900th issue came out of the October issue, but apparently one got missed somewhere along the lines, and so the claim is that wasn't actually the 900th. November's one's the 900th, so I'm pleased to say that if this is true, my layout for Dinrid made it into Railway Modeller 900th issue.
Yeah, that's fantastic, and I'm very proud of you. And what you sent a photo of it, and it looks fantastic. I haven't read it yet because I get an advertiser's copy, and I think they send them out about a week after everyone else. But I look forward to seeing it.
Yes, I was trying to withhold myself and wait for the paper copy to come through the post, but knowing it was going to be in there, I couldn't. And I went and looked at the digital edition last night, and the photos came out really well. So and it was the unexpected surprise me. It was plan of the month. Yeah. So
I'm amazed that you wasn't really planning into it.
That's what I thought. How did they come to that conclusion?
Maybe they didn't have any other layouts. Yeah,
that could be it. It could be it. It was some time ago that I entered that that article, so that would explain a lot. But there we are. But
That's fantastic. That's something I've longed to do, to get a layout into a magazine. That's sort of, I think it's a dream of a lot of modelers. Really, it's not the reason we do it, but it's kind of the highest recognition, I'd say. Railway modeler over all the magazines. No offence to the other magazines, but it's the one that's been going. I want to say the longest. I'm not sure if it is actually.
I think it's the longest surviving. Yeah, I don't think there's anything beats it.
Quite an honour. You should frame that.
I have been considering buying 2 copies just so I can.
You should buy plenty of copies so you can give one to every member of your family at Christmas.
That's a great idea. I don't need to my dad.
Expensive, to be fair.
Exactly. See, it'd be a lavish gift. It's not that expensive. People, remember, go out and buy a copy this month. 5 minutes.
Buy a copy.
£5 well spent, I'd say. There's some other wonderful layouts in there.
£6.50 now, aren't they?
Is it? Oh, blimey! I
don't know, to be honest.
That's why people need to buy the magazines. People need to buy the magazines. You see, this whole point of that episode we did support the magazine industry.
Yes,
because I think they're very important. But there we are. There we go. Shall we do some news?
I thought that was the news.
Well, it was the news, really. It was the most important piece of news.
Yeah, let's do the news.
So, there we are. Right. I think there's only one really big bit of news this week. Actually, no, there's 2, because Steve let us know of something as well. So, we'll cover that first, which is Model U have announced that they are moving their website over to Shopify. And it's more of a notice of engineering works, so to speak, that from the Tuesday, 14th of October, for around 48 hours, the website will be down whilst they transfer over to a new improved website, which hopefully, they're hoping, will be a lot easier to browse, use, and track your orders, etc. So we're looking forward to that. Do you like Model U?
I like Model U. That's good news. And I thought your Model U news was that they've added Steve onto the website, the British Canadian Railwayman. That is big news.
Is that who that is? I couldn't work it out because they put Fred Durst up on there. That turned out to be Sam.
Yeah, only available on TT.
And then I thought that Steve character was peeping Tom in the bushes because he's holding the camera, isn't he? So
that does make more sense. When are you going to get scanned then?
Well, I'm planning to go to Worley Not Worley, or the Festival of Railway Modelling, NEC, which they'll be at in November. I'm hoping I'll be invited as one of the Rail 200 finalists, but no email yet. But
no.
I'll be there regardless. I'm planning to do that then, and I think I might even dig out my Network Rail uniform and bring that along just so I can be scanned as a signaller. So then it can be. So my figure can actually be useful.
Yeah, you just want to be on people's layouts, don't you?
I do. See, that's it's the recognition, you see, and then any modern image modeler can have a model of me in their signal box.
I think,
and then that way
you can put you in my signal box anyway, and I'm not a modern image.
Well, I do because I think they bring a bit of clothes for dressing up, and I do actually want to have myself scanned in more in era 2 clothing for the signal box, which probably suit your layout as well. So yeah, well, I'll have a word with Chris and see what. I'm basically a
toilet in my signal box.
You do. Gold rimmed in the version I've got.
That's true.
But yeah, every signal box needs a toilet. It was an important thing. So I appreciated it. Painting that box and finding there was a toilet in there. You got a cupboard. There's a little cooker in there, lever frame, an armchair, all the important things. All the important things a signaller needs. Obviously the teapot. The railway can't run without tea. Everyone knows that. There we are. So that's the Model U news. So yeah, if anyone's planning to buy any figures, obviously just bear that in mind. And yeah, as we say, there is a model of Steve, if you're aware who he is. George Williamson wasn't. He texted me last night to ask who the hell was that on the podcast. Maybe not in quite those harsh words, but I do like to create a story, but yeah,
I think they've
I'm.
added a few
I,
people this week as well. I saw Lucy
I
Farquhar
yeah,
is
yeah.
a model on there now as well.
Lucy's on it. Yeah, I did say to Chris, I said, I think you've probably got enough now. You could do an advent calendar. No, not to
Buy it
produce
then.
one until our time ready. Hey,
Yeah. Would you buy it?
maybe it'd be a bit of fun, wouldn't it? It's sort of a YouTuber advent calendar. Uh, I mean, even if they just did a general advent calendar, that might be quite fun. Wouldn't it? Just get into 3D prints every day for a little figure to paint, something to do in the countdown to Christmas.
Yeah. I'm sure they haven't got
That's
enough else to.
just pitching ideas here for them. Or, maybe you got enough figures you could do one.
I was just thinking that as you said that. Don't think I actually have.
It's several Morecambe and Wises in there.
Yeah.
That's the surprise. You keep getting the same pair. But if you're painting in different clothes, then they're different figures.
That's true. Yeah, that's how it works. Just buy a load of those cheap Chinese ones off Temu, and then that's a good idea. We'll do a MRRP advent calendar. Charge loads
Just
of money.
have those. Just have those little rubbish figures.
Really bad figures. Yeah, good idea.
Yeah. Day 24 can just be the model you Sam. That's like the one good figure you get. Oh yes, I don't think we'll sell many in that gauge.
No.
He keeps banging the drum about it every week. TT this, TT that. It's.
I'm surprised he's not gone off it yet.
I think this is probably the longest he's stayed on a scale since doing the podcast. I think the podcast is his like Achilles heel. Because ever since he started doing it, he's jumped from one gauge to the other because we kind of talk about an idea or a layout he likes or something, and then I think he gets the dopamine hit and goes, "Yeah, that sounds great." And the next thing, he's gone and bought an O gauge Panya. It's
Well,
yeah,
that will probably happen. I can see him doing O gauge next.
yeah, definitely. He's well, maybe T. Maybe he's seen your lovely Rail 200 entry, didn't he? Because he obviously helped out Rayonex
Yeah,
the other week.
Don't do T gauge.
I watched your video. I thought it was really good. I was really enjoyed it, and
Thank you very much.
and the fact that knowing how big those boards are and that you model in T, it's such an optical illusion of what you've done. Because I keep looking again. It's too big, Tom. It's too big. It's over the 14 centimeter rule. But
Actual mountains.
But yeah, they're all coming out of the woodwork now because the closing date's passed, and I've got to say that there's some absolutely fantastic entries out there. So I think anyone who gets through to the final 50 is well deserved. But as Joseph said on his channel the other day, that model railway guy, I think just building the layout was the fun part of doing it, and if you got enjoyment out of that, then you're a winner anyway, kind of thing. So
we're all winners, James.
We're all winners. Yeah, I definitely enjoyed it. I really had. And I've got a little.
Winner.
No.
I mean, we're up against each other, so you're definitely not a winner. But I reckon George Williamson's in with a shout for the modular one. I've just binged watched his stuff yesterday, and his little modular is fantastic. His little diorama, and I don't actually know many people who've gone for the modular option either. So
no, I think George has done it. Dudley Central. I don't know if you've seen his. He's done like a version of a little section of Birmingham New Street.
Wow.
Yeah, it looks really good. It's really impressive. That's a really good job. There's quite a few TT ones in there. Obviously, Peachy naturally has gone for TT. There's another one. I think Sam mentioned his name the other week. He's done like Settle and Carlisle.
Yes, Let's Make Tracks.
That's it. Yeah, that looks very good as well.
That's very good as well. He's got my figures on it, so I'm going to be biased.
No, I got one of your figures on mine. Yeah.
Oh, well,
you said it was cheating.
That's why I keep promoting yours then.
You said it was cheating. So do have the postman picking up some letters from the postbox.
Fantastic.
There we are. Anyway, we got distracted from the news because there is another piece of news. Rails of Sheffield. I don't had it.
Well,
I want to say
this will go out of date. This news because Rails announced a collaboration with Olivia's Trains, and then was it 24 hours later they announced that wasn't happening.
It was quite the U-turn. Not quite sure what happened there. Probably best we don't go into it. I don't know. Some people have opinions of Olivia's, and we'll just leave that at that.
Yeah, okay.
But Bachmann news.
Yes.
This was a turn up for the books, wasn't it? Considering they only really ran in 1 yard, the Class 13.
Yeah, it's. I'll be honest, it's not something I really knew much about until they announced it. I just thought they were just 2 Class 08s, and then one was butchered a bit. Is that about right?
It is about right. So yes, they for. I don't want to get the name of the yard right now because I'll upset all the people in Yorkshire. I know it's in Yorkshire.
Tinsley?
It could be Tinsley. Let's go with Tinsley, and then we'll get told off by all the Northerners for getting the North wrong again. So they are essentially just 2 08 shunters coupled together, but the front one had the cab removed and became what they called the slave unit. So there was the master unit with the cab and the slave unit at the front. I think it was just done for extra haulage capacity in the yard. And the idea was, I think they were going to be expanded out further with these ideas like these super yards, but with obviously the increase in lorry traffic, the decline in freight traffic, it just never happened for BR, and that yard became a shadow of its former self over the years. But
it's an interesting prototype. I do like the look of it. I don't know whether it's something. I'm trying to work out what the sort of appeal would be outside of the yard that they worked in for prototypical modelers. If they were only based at that place, or I don't know if they were based anywhere else.
I don't think they were off the top of my head. I think they were only at the base there. I could be wrong, but I mean, rule one, obviously, if you like the look of it, you just get it, can't you? If you're a preservation modeler and you like to just bend the course of history, there's another reason to have that on there. You have a Class 13 working your passenger train. No, I've had a bit of a change of heart in my loyalties towards traction, and I've ever so slowly been growing a Steam collection, which is now sort of taken over. Mostly because I'll go back to the Rail 200. But I really enjoyed building the Rail 200 on a small layout because I actually finished a project before I got bored of it, and I was like, this is probably the way I need to go. So I've decided that the large diesel mainline layout is not practical for me because I just lose interest and then nothing happens. And so I've decided to sell off all my my modern image stuff, and I'm just sort of going to concentrate on Steam era, mostly like the pre-grouping stuff because I've always liked pre-grouping, but once upon a time it wasn't that popular, so it wasn't really available and ready to run. I don't have the skills for kit building, like the standards of like Tony Wright has, and like I tried watching one of his videos and trying to follow instructions. I was like, no, ain't for me. But with the increase in ready to run of Era 2, I find it a much more appealing. So I just thought, I'm going to have a go at that. And if I start a layout and I get bored of it, I can start another one, which is quite curious.
Yeah, and you'll find, as you've found from doing the diorama challenge, it's very satisfying to actually finish something. I found that because I obviously build dioramas for the shows, and you can start something and 2 weeks later, well, maybe even under a week, you've got something finished. Whereas with my layout, that's currently in pieces because I don't have anywhere yet for it to go, that's been at the track laying stage for about, over 2 years. And it just takes a lot more motivation to actually do something, I think, on a bigger layout. Whereas
it does.
You can get it done and get it finished. And you can do it modular, like Joseph did with his modular layout, section by section, and then you can see progress, I suppose.
That's it, yeah. You can. I think it's good. And it's funny that we come onto this subject because that's actually the topic for this week. We are talking, I say we, me and Sam, he has made it into the show.
Wow.
We're talking micro layouts this week. Yeah, right. We've talked all things small layouts and the advantages. I think we've called it micro layouts when you don't have time and space. So how about we go and have a little listen to that?
Yeah, all right. Wilson? Wilson!
Yes, sir?
Is everything set for His Majesty's arrival?
Yes, sir.
The chefs are preparing the banquet, and his room is prepared.
And the model room as per his request?
Yes, sir, the models are all out on display.
Your Majesty, welcome to my humble abode. Yes, very good, old sport. Come on, let's play trains. Absolutely, Your Majesty. What's this? Something wrong, Your Majesty? These locos, they're so clean, so fresh, like they're straight out of the box. All cleaned up for your arrival. Oh no, my dear boy, you know what I want. I want it dirty. Dirty? Show me your dirty shunter. Okay, here you go. Oh yes, that's the stuff. Who made this filth?
It was Emperor's Path, Your Majesty.
I think I'll have to make a royal appointment myself, and still have some change to buy my new helicopter.
You can get your models weathered by Emperor's Path using just the airbrush for a light dusting, or alternatively, oil paints and airbrush to add that extra depth. Contact Emperor's Path on Instagram at emperors_path, or alternatively, emperorspathcontact@gmail.com.
Emperor's Path? I'm the only emperor around here.
Well, here we are again for another little layout chat, I suppose, modelling chat, as people like to listen to them. And this week, I thought we could talk about micro layouts for when you don't have time and space. Sam, have you ever built a micro layout? I mean, you've had a go at numerous layouts. You ever had a go at something like that?
Yes, I did. So actually, the first layout I did when I got back into the hobby was an Inglenook shunting puzzle, as a lot of people in sort of September, October 2020. The itch to do model railways during 2020 was quite high, as I think it was with a lot of people who might have dabbled or been interested in it in the past. And I dug out my 08 shunter and my 14XX out of storage, and I've always wanted to do an Inglenook puzzle. The thing I didn't want to do was I didn't want to flick the points myself. I wanted to have a go at motorizing points for the first time, and I wanted to try and figure out a way of just sort of working out the uncoupling and the best way to do it. So I had some spare wood, and really stupidly, I wish I'd just done a square, like an actual or a rectangle. But I tried to make it so that it was the shape of the puzzle. So it was like this weird, like really thin at one end, and then a sort of a 12-inch at the other end. Weird shape. Don't ask me how. But yes, to answer your question in short, I have done a micro layout.
Oh, see, I think you hit the nail on the head there when you said that. I think micro layouts are a great way to start in the hobby, because I think we all do it. We see these, you go to exhibitions and you see these wonderful large layouts, and you don't really put together that they're usually bought there by a club, and it's been several people that have actually built this layout, not just one person toiling away for years and years. And you kind of look at them and you go, "Oh, I'd love that. I'd love to have a big main line with, express trains rushing through, and then this other junction here, and the branch line goes around here." And when you're starting the hobby, I think all those dreams are there because it's the excitement of coming into this, and all the, it's probably what draws you to it in the first place. And maybe not everyone. I know there are those that see a little shunter just trundling up and down a siding, and they go, "Oh, actually, that was what I saw, and that's what I want to model." But I think most of us fall for that giant train set dream. And then when you try and achieve that dream, it's all reality starts to kick in, and you realise that you're not really getting anywhere. And it can be quite quick and easy to fall out of love with what you're doing. I've seen a few people sort of recommend it. It's like, start small, even if you start with something that you can expand later on. Just start small, because otherwise you will just fall out of love with what you're doing. And I think this is so true. And I've mentioned it in previous episodes, but I think this is where I've run into this problem, because I've waited years and years to get myself a nice big space, and I've got my big space, and I've tried building a big layout, and I've just lost interest in it because I just don't have the motivation to work on something so large and get it working. And the wiring puts me off, and getting the track all sorted, and it's a cost as well. The expense of such a large layout. And I've done that Rail 200 where I tried to make a micro layout, and I believe I've succeeded in making a micro layout, and I enjoyed that so much more than I did of putting together the baseboards for this larger one that goes around the room, because I achieved something, and I wasn't spending months on end building baseboards and laying track and wiring it all up, and not getting to the fun part, well, what I consider the fun part of doing the scenics. Whereas the micro layout, the track was down, and this one had minimal electrics on it. There was no point motors. They were all manual, with a bit of in this case they use barbecue skewers with a copper brass rod going through the middle of it to change the points, and you just pull the handle at the end. And I've got myself a little working layout that's fun to play with, and I've really enjoyed building it. So, yeah, when you said like when you returned to the hobby and you started with a micro layout, I think that is probably the best way for anyone to begin.
What's good about the micro layout is that I think Pico's Rail 200 challenge has definitely created this micro layout thing and has almost rejuvenated it. I mean, like you say, you've just finished yours. There's all these Rail 200 videos that are out there at the moment. And I think it's almost given the micro layout a small renaissance, because I felt like we had quite a few of them in 2020. And then obviously people have sort of expanded on that since. It is really interesting seeing what you can fit in these spaces in different scales and gauges. I think the best thing about it, and if I was redoing it now, I'd do it very differently. But I think it's that thing that with a micro layout, you do test your skills, or you develop the skills that you're a little bit scared of, that will eventually benefit you when you then move on to doing the bigger layout. I think soldering is the perfect one to talk about, because you're doing that, especially if you're doing DCC on a small level, or even now. I think the thing that you have available to you now, which you didn't have back in 2020, is the HM7000 not being a specific DCC system where you only need to effectively have power to the tracks. Suddenly opens up this massive thing where you can buy the chip and then you can control everything on your phone. So that's already adding in these new things. But it's the fact that, okay, so the Inglenook shunting puzzle, what's so great about that is that you only need to purchase some of the most expensive parts of your hobby that you need to purchase. And I'd say the most enjoyable part of the hobby to anyone who gets in for the first time is people want points on their layout. They don't just want one single piece of track. So some do, but it's that fact of having two points on your layouts gives you that sort of flexibility to start doing stuff. And I think that's why a lot of people, and myself included, go to the Inglenook. There are quite a few micro layouts out there that are really interesting, or I remember looking at when I first started. And if you don't mind, I'm just going to mention a few of those, and some of the ones that are out about now that are really interesting to look at and discuss. I mean, and then we can sort of go off our own things. But if you don't mind, I'd like to discuss some of the things that got me back into the hobby and helped me, if that's okay with you.
Yeah.
I don't know.
We're here to talk.
I never ask your permission for anything. It feels like we talk about him a lot at the moment, but you know what? That's because over the last 5 years, the amount of videos and different things that he's done is extraordinary. And I know there's going to be plenty out of you out there cheering. And I know there's you can't talk about micro layouts without talking about Joseph from That Model Railway Guy. Not only did he have that first layout, the sidings that he had with the sort of that was effectively an Inglenook shunting puzzle, but then you've also got the fact that he's also created a suitcase layout for 009. Some of the stuff that he's created, I'm trying to think if this will come out if this episode will come out by the time that it's actually public knowledge, and I'm pretty sure it will. I know what Joseph's doing for his Rail 200 build.
And there's a video of that already.
Oh, is it? Perfect. Okay, sorry. So I don't mean to brag. I'm a channel member, so I got it early. Because I went.
Yeah,
to go...
I'm a tight as a duck's, and I didn't. And yeah, it came out the other day. It's
Oh, okay.
our good friend George was going. Did he copy Corish? Some people were saying to me he's copied Corish, and I was like, I think he's just been influenced by it. But it's very cool. It's very cool. It does look very Corish. But as I said, I was like, it's North Wales. It's a slate railway. I mean, they're all going to look the same, aren't they? They're all
Mm.
narrow gauge and fit on a tight board. But yeah,
I find it funny
yeah.
that that George said, "Did he copy Corish?" when George copied Ford Dinrid.
Oh, now you're starting things. You see, yeah.
That's what you told me the other day in our text chat. You told me that George copied you. Isn't that what you said? Um,
He usually copies me. I told him my ideas, and he was like, "I'm doing that." And I was like, "Well, yeah, yeah." But no,
um,
no, yeah, no, George was flattered because he was like, "If that's true," right, he goes, "that means he's watching my channel." So I was like, "I'm sure he does."
I know
So,
Joseph does watch a lot of channels and has admitted to me that he's really bad at like commenting on the videos, if that makes sense. And I'm guilty of that when it comes on TV. Anyway, that's not microlab. Another one is SD, and I'm gutted he hasn't released a video in a while. SDJR88, Callum. I
oh
think
yes, no, because he works for Railway Modeler, doesn't he?
that was it. I was about to say, I'm sure he worked for a magazine. I was going to say BRM, but it must be Railway Modeler. And he did a layout in now the breadth of micro layout for this. You might tell me off. He did a layout in a wrapping paper, really useful box where it had, and it was the first time I'd seen a shuttle system used, and I found it really interesting because he utilized that shuttle system so that it made a single piece of track with a siding really interesting to watch, and he did all the scenics for it. And that was another micro layout that's what got me into the block signaling side of things on my old layout. Are there any sort of micro layouts that you can think of that
I,
have
I,
been?
I thought you were going to say his name, and I'm surprised you hadn't. But James Hilton, the work he does.
Oh my God, how could I forget? James,
He writes books about
yeah,
it.
he does. He really does write books about it. I can't believe I forgot about it. Sorry, James, if for some bizarre reason you are listening, I know you're friends with George, so maybe George has gone, here's this. Um, and I think what's nice about James is James has done it in multiple scales and gauges as well.
He does the thing which I think is what's appealing to me about the idea of it is you start a little layout, and it doesn't take you forever to build. It doesn't take all the space out of what you've got, and it gives you the flexibility to model more than one thing. Because I find one of the hardest things with modeling is you pick an era or a location that you like, and then if you're happy with rule one, it's not a problem. If you feel that you have to sort of keep it semi-realistic. You find you're then sort of slotted into one little area and going, right, well, it's 1990s Network Southeast. All I will buy will be 1990s Network Southeast. And then, there's a steam engine catching your eye, and you're thinking, oh, I like that. I'd like to buy that, but I've got no reason to have it. At least with the micro layout, you can build these various different little ideas that you have of the various locations. You're not spending massive amounts of money, keep switching a big, large layout because you've got these grand ideas. You've got something that you can put up or take down and put a different one up. You don't have to buy tons and tons of rolling stock for it because it's small. So you can make small investments in something, and that way you've got a little bit more flexibility, I think. The downside is obviously if you're like yourself, someone who likes to watch trains run round and round, unless you've managed to do what Joseph's done on that Pico board where he's managed to get 009 squeezed on to go around it. And I looked at that board and I thought about doing that. I was like, there's no way you can do that. And but yeah, no, he's proved that you can, which is quite impressive. So, if you like that kind of thing, the microlayouts aren't for you. But if you're more of into shunting or station operations or something like that, and all of a sudden these smaller layouts are much more appealing. And I think they can allow you to practice skills and develop ideas that a larger layout might be more costly. You can have a go at something. You might want to try your hand at a more industrial scene, building up buildings, or maybe it comes to mind. I've seen a micro layout based on a brewery, which I think is little brewery layouts. I think are great because you get the all the lovely little industrial locos, all those Oval Road packets and that people running on it, and just a couple of vans. And there's lots of activity going on because obviously there's the vans of beer going in and out, and you've got you've the hops coming in, and you've got the coal as well, and so there's variation in what's being shunted around. And I think, yeah, if you're wanting to try your hand at something different, then a micro layout's probably perfect for it.
I think what's good about the micro layout is that there's so many different ways that you can do it. You can try your luck at uh, the ridiculously small narrow gauge loop. You can do a yard. You can do you can do an engine shed. You can do all these sort of little things. And I guess, what would you define? What would your maximum size be for a micro layout? Because I think that's something that we kind of need to try and work out. Like,
And that's it. What define? I suppose, yeah. What does define a micro layout? I mean, I've seen O gauge, which is a micro layout. Exhibitions. I don't know. I'm not probably 3 foot, maybe even 2 foot in length. I like one of them was really, really, really small. It was essentially he just had a cassette to load the engines on and off. It was like the interior of a shed, and it just had little small industrial locos just coming on and off the shed. It was tiny, but because it was O gauge. If it was in a different gauge, would you class it as a full size layout? I'm not sure.
I and I'm saying this because I've got something in the back of my repertoire that I would class as a micro layout. I think 4 foot by 1 foot is probably the largest you could consider for a micro layout because of, I think, the depth of the 1 foot gives
Yeah.
you the ability that you can fit in. If you were sort of doing a ladder of points, for example, for a yard or a depot or something like that, you could still fit quite a few in, because I think that's something that when you're dealing with points, you do need length in order to sort of to get them to ladder up, but you do also need the width to go with it to make, because you're not dealing with just sort of two lines when you start doing a depot. I mean, you're probably dealing with somewhere in the region of 6 to 12 separate lines when it comes to actually laying out the pieces of track for a yard or an engine shed or something like that. But 4 foot gives you enough that you can have a little bit of length on there. You're not going to be able to run a 2-car DMU up and down all the time, but you've got an ability on there. And I think also that fits quite nicely within the Inglenook shunting sort of sizes in 00. So if you then went down to TT or to N or some of the more obscure scales, or even with 009, which is where I'm coming to this, I believe the 009 layout that I built is a micro layout, because in that 4x1, you manage to get a figure of 8 that goes up an incline over its lower level and then back down on the figure of 8 and then does the whole thing again. And I'd consider that, because of its size, a micro layout.
But yeah, I don't know, because I would have said, yeah, I think you're right. 12 inches width for OO gauge, probably about 4 foot in length, probably is a maximum for calling it a micro layout. I'd then lower those dimensions for the smaller gauge. So I'd probably say maybe 6 inches by 3 foot for an N gauge. Call that a micro layout. TT probably just slightly larger, maybe 10 inches to the 3'2" or something like that. I don't know.
It's
009,
difficult, isn't it?
that's a bit of a cheat, because obviously it's OO scale. So yes, technically we're saying that's a micro layout. But is the width of your board 1 foot, or is it wider for those curves? I would have thought it'd be about 2 foot, wouldn't it, for that?
Oh, maybe it's 18. I'm trying to remember. I'm trying to remember now. Maybe it's 18 inches to do that. So actually, I've lied and I've betrayed our entire listening crew.
Yeah, there we go. There we are. You're trying to big yourself up by something that never happened.
Yeah, maybe it is. I don't. It must be 18. In fact, I think it's 4 foot by 18 inches. In which case, it's not a micro layout, guys, because it is 6 inches too big. That's what she said.
That's it. That's it. We have defined the dimensions. But yeah, no, I think, yeah, it's got to be like just a small scene, hasn't it? I think a micro layout is just one little scene, almost like a living picture of what's going on.
Could you have it with a micro layout where, because I feel like defining the micro layout, smaller in gauge and scale that you go and reducing the size of the board isn't the gauge's fault. That's actually the benefit of the gauge. So the micro layout is something that I feel tabletop. Let's say if it was 4 foot by 1 foot, and what you could fit in those different scales and gauges. And James Hilton's a fantastic person to talk about it, because when he does his little shunting puzzles, shunting yards that he does for especially the American ones, what he's able to fit in his 00 is great. But when he then scales it down to N, he does even more amazing things in that space. So and this is more of a healthy discussion rather than the gospel rule of this is what you must have to qualify as a micro layout. But do you not think that someone going down in gauge should benefit from the same size of board? Or do you think that to classify it as a micro layout, it has to scale down with the scale that you're using?
I'd say scale down, because if you think about it, an OO gauge HST of about 8 coaches is roughly about 9 feet in length. And when you scale that down to N gauge, you're looking at roughly about 4.5 foot. So if you're building a micro layout, or what you want to call a micro layout, and you can just about fit a HST across the length of the scene, does it feel so micro if you can fit a full main line? I mean, the train isn't going to do anything because obviously its nose is poking out into your fiddle yard.
Mm.
But would that would you walk into an exhibition, look at said layout, see that it's got a full length HST on it, and think, oh, this is a nice little micro layout? Or would that trick your mind into thinking, well, this is just standard size layout because it's got HST on it?
Yeah. That's a difficult one, because
It's
I also sometimes think of whether a micro layout is based on the space that it's using, but I appreciate what you're saying in terms of
maybe
oh
the
God.
rule should be, if you can fit it in the back, if you fit it in the boot of your car, it's a micro layout.
Yeah,
But I
maybe
mean,
that is a good validation.
but I mean, you can get even smaller, can't you? The box file layouts, I think, are fascinating.
Mm.
Someone would take a box file, and I've seen one in Railway Modeler where essentially the whole thing just packs up into the box file. It's just a little couple of sidings with one set of points. That's all it is. A cassette on the end just to swap stuff around. You just shunt backwards and forwards, but it's sort of like like a brewery or a factory setting, and that's it. And I've seen a few other box file kind of layouts. So I think they're just. I mean, if you are tight on space, they're a great idea. Um,
And the
you
fact
want to
that
be.
you can buy them as you can buy the actual box file kits, so they come with the box, but you print and cut those bits to go inside it as well, so they are almost a layout in a box almost. Which,
Yeah,
if you didn't know, anyone sitting at home, you can purchase these box file layouts to print, or do they come pre-printed? You're more likely to know this than I am.
to be honest, I wasn't aware of someone making them. I always knew box file layouts existed. I didn't know you could get them as a kit. But I mean, that sounds quite cool.
You talk your spiel. I'm going to quickly have a little Google whilst you're saying your next bit.
I mean, I think the advantage of the box file is, and this reminds me of someone who very nicely emailed the podcast a couple of weeks ago and said how much they were enjoying it. And they're off to university, and as it was, they don't have a layout because they don't really have the space for it or whatever, and they're off to uni. But I mean, if you had a little box file layout, there's no reason why you couldn't have a little layout that you can just then get out, put on your desk, pack away, put on the shelf. As a box file, you can disguise it as well. So if you don't want anyone to know why you should be embarrassed of the hobby, you shouldn't. But you might want to impress a girl. You don't want to scare her off straight away. You can just hide it on your shelf, kind of thing. But yeah, I think they're great design. There's another one that I saw. I think it was on RM Web. It was an N gauge layout. I think it was built. It was definitely built in a case. I want to say like a musical instrument case of some description. It wasn't massive, but again, it was a very small layout. But it was ideal. It was a Cornish-based layout, and it was just a station with a siding and a little bit of a junction. And the idea was that You'd come into the station. If you had a little freight train, it'd have a couple of China clay wagons or whatever. The loco would come in, and then it would run round, propel the wagons back into the buffer stops, and then it would then wait for the junction to be changed, and it would go off towards, they'd say the docks or something like that, and back, obviously back into the fiddle yard. But that was kind of the idea of the play, and then you could run a DMU in and out of the bay platform as well, and you just kind of got this activity going. And again, that layout, I think, including the fiddle yard, off the top of my head, was roughly around 4.5 feet. I think it featured in a couple of magazines actually, and it was a splendid tiny little layout. And again, I suppose it comes back to when you're saying about the gauge. Sometimes the gauge can really benefit you if you are trying to build a micro layout. You can't, you might not be able to build something like that in the OO gauge. That's going to take up quite a bit of space. But N gauge is perfect for building such a small layout where you can still have a bit of fun with it.
And I guess if you were looking to move up to O, I think I've said it before, one of my favorite O gauge micro layouts, which actually isn't that micro, was a Inglenook shunting puzzle in O with a little diesel shunter. But what made it feel massive was the fact that it had a little retaining wall with a 121 bubble car up the top that was on a shuttle system that moved just backwards and forwards, and it literally just popped in and out. But it was the layout itself was actually not that big, but because it was in O, it seemed huge and probably bigger than some people's double O or N gauge layouts.
Yeah. Again, yeah. O gauge. You can do something like that and get a nice layout that you can still operate and enjoy, but not in a massive space. And I think it's the Gauge O Guild or Society have a number of track plan books that you can get, and they have quite small designs in them. They're sort of for people who want to start in the gauge. They're there to help them and give them ideas of what you can build. So yeah, there's definitely. I think again, this comes back to that footprint of what would you class as a micro layout. I think when you go into O gauge, I think saying 4 foot by 1 foot is the maximum dimensions would be a bit cruel to anyone who wants to model in O. We could probably expand it a bit more, but yeah, I guess. I guess it's supposed what just fits in the scene. I think a loco and 2 coaches is probably if that's the maximum length of train you can fit in the scene, it probably is a micro layout kind of thing. I don't know. Maybe people. I know we can get comments on Spotify, so people could just comment down below with what they think should suit the dimensions of a micro layout.
Yeah, those of you who want, you can email in to the podcast, or you can comment on one of the various links or posts about this episode. Anyway, but yeah, it would be really interesting to see what people do class as a micro layout, because we could obviously be sitting here and we obviously have our own personal opinions on it. And yeah, so I've managed to get the box file stuff up. So it is made by Scale Scenes, and it is £11.50 at the time of recording, and it is an entire layout that goes into one of the box files. So if you are born after 1990, maybe 1995, depending on where you sit, a box file is effectively like a folder, but it is a box rather than a sort of open and shut folder. That's the best way I can describe it to those who have never seen one, right, James?
Yeah, it's like an email folder, but physical.
Yeah.
So yeah, they're roughly A4 in size, A4 piece of paper in size, and usually around, I would say, in fact, I have one in here because I did build a box file layout. In fact, I built it last year when I built a small little scene to celebrate 40 years of Thomas the Tank Engine on the telly.
Oh yes, you did.
And when you want a ruler, you can't find one, can you? I've been fiddling with a ruler the entire time we've been recording, and now that I need one, all I can find is my giant 1 meter ruler, which will probably bash the ceiling once I try and measure this box. Right, there we go.
I reckon 8
yeah,
centimeters.
yeah, I was about to say 8 centimeters, and you're
Yeah.
right, it's 7.5.
Bang tidy. But yeah, so it is effectively a layout in a box, and under the Scale Scenes website, it does say that it is an entire layout that can be safely flat packed back into the box. So you can effectively take bits out that lay flat in there, which is so clever. And it is designed with 00HO, 009 or HOE in mind. So you can do several different things, and that would be a fantastic little shunting layout for a little 009 industrial. And I think what's nice about it is that is a very modern looking scene as well. It's not necessarily the generic Steam, because usually when I see the box file type things, they're usually Steam era in the ones that I've seen. I don't know if
Yeah.
you've had the same thing.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's because Steam lends itself to this sort of size of layout, doesn't it? You've got the small wheelbase wagons that, four wheels. You can get 040 shunting engines, all very tiny and cute and can fit on. And if you're more of a diesel modeler, the later in the years you go, the more restricted you'll probably find that you are. Particularly nowadays, as when we're like talking to Ben from Revolution last week, he mentioned that there's not that many four-wheel wagons left on the network. Which is true. Since trip workings and speed leak workings and that all disappeared, everything runs in block. Being a modern image diesel modeler and trying to find something interesting that you can model in a small space is almost impossible. People have done it. People have found ways around it. Usually, it's kind of like get a couple of those Network Rail wagons, and maybe your loco can just bring a couple of them into a siding for a small engineering job or something like that. But yeah, trying to find something that'll fit in there can be quite tough. But yeah, as you say, this box file, you sent me the link. I've had a look at it. I think this is the one that was in Railway Modeler that I was talking about. But as you say, yeah, it's quite modern image looking. And if you can get something smaller, like an O8 shunter and a couple of wagons, if you are looking to do it in OO, you could probably make something of it.
Is the Ruston the smallest diesel? And I'm talking the
Yeah,
88 Rust.
Hornby. You got the 80. There's two, isn't there? They've done is it the 4DS one as well? But there are two little 040 shunters that into diesel shunters that Hornby have done.
You basically want the one without the little wagon at the back, because that obviously takes up all that extra space.
Well, you
For,
can run it without that little wagon. That little wagon is to help you get over Install Frog points.
is it? Oh, okay. I didn't
Yeah,
realize that.
that's most of its purpose. But yeah, you can detach the wagon because it wasn't a bad idea, but it did look a bit daft with that wagon. It's just I don't know that it didn't feel right, that wagon. But yeah, obviously over the years they've changed it. But yeah, even though something like that with such a short wheelbase, you probably do need to look at Electro Frog points if you want perfect running in such a small little layout, because the frustrations that would probably cause you, because you can't run at these things fast and hope it will just travel over whilst it loses power for a second and sort of coast till it picks up again. You're gonna have to be very much of crawling along, and that's going to require a stay alive or a decent track work and electro fog or unifrog point.
It does look a really good kit. So, whilst we're on the subject of small layouts, that's a really good starting point. And I'm just looking at it thinking this is only available in 00. I'd love to see if they could do something like this in TT or N, because imagine what you could fit in there. Although saying that, it would look really nice in 009. I just don't know if the 009 Steam locos would fit the aesthetics of the kit, if that makes sense.
Well, you've got the jury Bagnall Chanter, is it?
The Bagman Dubar,
Yeah.
whatever it is. I can never pronounce it. It's almost as difficult as trying to say Welsh names.
It is a Welsh loco. I mean, I know Talaclin got one. I'll just do double. I mean, you could obviously buy the Bachmann Rusty and turn that into a diesel if you wanted to.
Yeah,
It's
you
not
could.
accurate. It's not accurate for a Midlander loco that is seen on the Talaclin. It's the dimensions are completely wrong, but I'm sure it's a useful chassis for a fictional diesel, or just even keeping the body on and just removing the face
I think in
is an
009
option there.
you could get some really nice Continental 009 locos or HOE.
Yeah, you can actually. Yeah, you can get like stuff from Rocco. It's a Borgli Jury
Thank you.
diesel. That's what we're thinking of. But yeah, I mean, you can get various Ruston ones and the likes for 3D printed kits that you can put chassis in. So you can have a diesel themed 009 layout if you so wanted. and model something in there like that.
And with those new Rapido wagons as well, you've got some really good choices from there as well. So some of the stuff that they're doing, I think they've brought out, or the potential of what's coming out in the next few months would definitely suit a more
Them
diesel themed.
or what Bachmann produce in the RNAD range of wagons, which were built for diesel shunters like that, because they are a later design of narrow gauge wagon. But obviously this is this is dating a long way back to our Fight Club when you picked them for a certain era of wagon, and I had to point out that you were way off.
Me way off in Fight Club. That doesn't sound like a real thing. So yes, I mean this is at least in Double O, this is probably one of the smaller micro things that you could do. If you were going to build a micro layout tomorrow, what scale do you think you'd build it in? Not based on what stock you have or anything like that, but maybe what's readily available as a modeler. What scale or gauge do you think you'd go for?
I have. No, I don't know. This goes back to the size question. And I may have mentioned this. I don't think I have. I know I've told this. I think I must mention this to George, maybe.
Like, does that give us a small hint?
It's essentially that we have an old IKEA table that from their children's range that the kids had in their bedroom. Just like a little children's coffee table, essentially. It's not massive, and it's been kicking around the house, and it just sort of just gets in the way, and it's not really been used, and it's quite battered by the kids. It's all been drawn on over the years, and they've been growing up with felt tip pen all over it. It's a bit of an eyesore for a piece of furniture. I looked at it and I thought, I reckon you can get 009 on that. Having seen Joseph's video now, I know I could definitely get 009 on it. If I can run all the locos I want to run on it is another question. But we did have some spare first radius, not enough to make a full loop, but enough to sort of test it out. And I reckon I can get a loop of track on this little table. And I want to build a layout for some upcoming projects I have planned. I don't want to give away too much because George is just still my idea. So.
Well, yeah, because we all know he's a thieving 009 modeler.
He was telling me one of his ideas, which is very, very cool, and I hope he goes through with it.
Nice.
So, yeah, I'll tell you when we're not recording.
Thanks, Joe.
Don't want to spoil it. But yes,
I know your stuff,
James,
George.
What do you do?
I think everyone's expecting me to say TT, but I feel like I'm going more the same route as you. I would like to do a 009 narrow gauge style thing, but I don't. I've not managed to do an Inglenook right. I've never managed it. The first one that I built, I never really finished it. I couldn't get the uncoupling side of it to work well, and I bought the Hornby surface mounted point motors for it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and they were an absolute pig to throw. That and the fact that I used Hornby Intel Frog points on it, I used all of it was set track. If I was going back to it now, I'd love to give a real try at a streamline Inglenook shunting puzzle. Part of me can't decide whether it would be worth doing it as a 009 and having like a little sort of like cute little station, or maybe an industrial look like the box file that we've just been talking about, or whether I'd like to do it. On the old layout, I really wanted to have a little Class 33 shunting some sort of SpeedLink stuff in the background. But I think I'd like to really try and do an Inglenook shunting puzzle right, where the uncoupling is done right. Kind of to have that hands-free effect of it, because whilst I know there's plenty of people out there who do like to have no problem with the sort of the whole hand of God or using a little uncoupling rod and things like that, I always like the idea of having a hands-free operation when it comes to shunting. Years ago, I made a little uncoupling system with the KDs and the magnets and stuff like that, and I almost got it there before I then ADHD kicked in and got really bored. But I managed to get it so that my Class 47 could bring in a rake of the Royal Mail coaches, uncouple, go sit in the siding. The Class 08 could come pick them up, pull them in, and then like the whole shunting process could begin again. So I feel if I redid the track work and everything like that now, it could work, and I'd be able to get it to a level that I was really happy with.
Yeah, no, that's cool, and that sort of brings back to the first point, doesn't it, of coming into the hobby and having a go. And like you say, this is a small layout, and here you are, you've had a go. You've used components that naturally anyone would probably just turn to. Like I think most people starting the hobby would just naturally turn to set track stuff. There's nothing wrong with that. We're not bashing Hornby here or anything. Just, obviously, we're listing off a lot of Hornby products there. It's not saying that they're bad products. It's just it's learning as we go along. And obviously, something like that, if you want better running, the Insil Frog points that come in set track are no good for a slow moving locomotive. And then you can build that layout, doesn't quite work. You haven't wasted months of your life to now find it doesn't work. You can now just look at it and go, right, I know what the problem is. I need to change this, I need to change this, and it'll work, kind of thing. And you could keep all the other set track components. It may be just a case of just buying a couple of new points, maybe one length of streamline track just to get everything in line, which cut it up to fit. And you've got something that works. So I think that's a good shout. And it's not just Inglenook. There's other small shunting puzzles as well. There's one over in America that's an industry-based shunting puzzle. And I think the Reverend Awardry, here we go, we've got Thomas in there. Right. He adapted it. I can't remember if it was one of the Thomas annuals that they did, one of the Railway Series annuals, should I say. And there was two of them. It was either in that or it was in like I think what it was called a fun pack, and it was Percy's shunting uh, puzzle, and I think it was actually based on the layout of Farquhar Station. I think this sort of shunting puzzle was built into the Farquhar layout, and I think it was that idea was based on this American idea of the industry shunting. So on the American one, the local would come in on the short line, as they call it, for the various industries, and the train would be made up of probably like five or six cars, and you'd have your micro layout, and in one corner you'd have smelters or an aluminium works or something like that, and so your metal car would go off there for a flatbed or whatever you needed to do for that. There'd be a grain silo, so then you'd have to get the grain silo in there. There'd be an oil terminal and maybe like something for an aggregate car or a coal car. And this is the same with the Reverend Awardsy one. If I recall, it was Percy had to shunt the oil tanker into one siding, the coal truck into the other siding, the cattle truck into the other siding, and it's all in a confined space of which the loco can only like run around maybe one or two wagons. So it was a case of shunting some out of the way, bringing some in. I can't quite remember the name of that puzzle, but I'm sure if people look it up, they can find it. And I've seen a lot. I think I want to say it's kind of the same, but YouTube has been pushing a lot on the algorithm of German switching layouts like this of the same concept of the train comes in with the various cars, and then it's your job to get them into the various industry sidings. So that's sort of a variation on the Inglenook shunting puzzle. But I think there probably are a couple of other puzzles maybe out there that you could put micro layouts. But I think the puzzle route is a really good way of keeping interest in such a small layout, because that could probably be the fear of building something small is I'm going to get bored with it. But I built an Inglenook years ago. The only reason I didn't keep to it was because I think obviously due to my job, I have to think creatively of getting out of certain situations sometimes when we've got trouble in the yard and it is a bit crammed. And I found the Inglenook shunting puzzle a bit too easy. I was like, I could solve it in about 10 minutes kind of thing. And right, that's it. It's, yeah. But I let my brother-in-law have a go. He was on it for hours. He loved it, and it was just shunting the train around and trying to solve it, and he couldn't quite get it, and then so he'd have another go. And he was someone that has absolutely no interest in railways, none whatsoever. But he loved it because it wasn't because it was a model railway. It was because it was a puzzle. It was a game. So he found it really interesting, which is, it again comes to that point of I never understand why one of the manufacturers has never done the Inglenook shunting puzzle as a train set. It would be a great seller, I'm sure, even to people that weren't really that into model railways. If it's marketed the right way as a game, surely it would sell like really well. I mean, obviously the costs might put people off, but do you know what I mean? It is fun.
Yeah, it It really is. And like, don't get me wrong, the times I've practiced using Inglenook, they are really, really fun. But I think we said this on the Christmas train set episode, and I said about how the steampunk did have the shunting puzzle train set, and it did contain all of the track you needed to build an Inglenook. It was just never marketed as it. But maybe if a manufacturer's listening and you're looking to get some of those new people in, I think an Inglenook would certainly get those people who are a little bit hesitant because they don't have space for a train set. But then I guess the worry is, how do you save the money to do it? Like, obviously, a train set, the idea is that you're meant to, not a complete loss, but the idea is that you will be selling that for less than what it would be to buy, if that makes sense.
Mm.
So I guess,
no, that's for marketing to work out.
yeah, but it's such a good idea, and I think it's definitely a good starting point for micro layouts. But then I guess all you need really for a micro layout is a straight piece of track. If you're happy to just have, if you had something as simple as a bubble car or anything that's a single unit, you do have that space to be able to have a fiddle yard or a tunnel that goes into, and also have it come on to a piece of track, depending on the measurements that you need. That's all you need. You can still make something fun out of that. You still have that,
Yeah.
and that's when it becomes more like a shelf micro layout, where all you need is power to the unit to power. And this is where James Hilton's methods of doing it, where he supplies power to the controller and the lighting in one cable. And I think it's a really clever way of doing it, where you can effectively put this little layout on a shelf. It's got a little shuttle system in it. You have it so that you put the track in, you check that the train does exactly what you want it to do in that really small space where it goes in and out and in and out. And then you can work on the scenery for it. And then you have a little train that can effectively sit on a shelf on your desk, somewhere that's easily visible. You can just have that train coming in and out all day. And it's just something that's nice and therapeutic to have running.
Yeah. I think. I mean, obviously, you're trying to push your train set idea from when we had our fight club, but
I genuinely forgot about that.
That's where that subconsciously came from. But yeah, no, if you're someone that's more into the idea of doing the scenic side of modeling, and again, you've come into it and you've seen a wonderful model where maybe you went to Pendon and you've been inspired by that, and you just want to jump straight into the scenics. You don't want to be tied down by a complex junction layout that you've now got to work out how to wire up. But like you say, if you just have a little shuttle system, straight piece of track where the DMU is going backwards and forwards because your main focus is actually I want to do the scenery. Something like that is a great idea. And again, there's a similar idea in the Pico set track plan book, or one of the older ones, definitely. As soon as you said that, stuck in my mind. Again, it's kind of Cornish based, so it's like a 1-2-1 or a 1-2-2 on a shuttle system. On the back line, it goes backwards and forwards to a nice little halt. And then on the front is just a very simple setup. I think maybe two sidings and a head shunt. And then, on the illustration, it's an O3 and a couple of wagons. And the idea is the O3 is just shunting the wagons around whilst the other one's just going backwards and forwards. And again, you've got yourself something really, really simple that you can just get that track laid down and dive straight into the scenics of it and have a go. But the other thing I want to say about the England champion puzzle, and sort of going back to that, is that there used to be a game that you could get on the App Store. I can't remember the name of it, but it was based on the England champion puzzle. And you'd have the basics of the rules of getting the 5 wagons in a line out of the 8 wagons you've got in the yard. But as the game went on, it made it more and more complex. And this is what you could do with your own layout: is if the locomotive, there would be a gunpowder van in there. If the loco went next to the gunpowder van would explode, and that would be it. The game would be over. You failed the level. So there'd be challenges like that, or there'd be a van with eggs, and you'd only allowed to move the van 3 times, otherwise all the eggs would crack in the van from all the shunting, and so that again it would be game over. So again, you could adapt that. You could build that layout, and you can play the shunting puzzle. And if after like myself, when I said I got bored because I found it too quick, too simple to do, well, add these extra rules of don't. You can't have the loco steam engine next to the gunpowder van or the fuel tanker because you'll set it alight. So that adds a little bit more of a challenge to it. Or you've got something fragile in a shock wagon. and you're only allowed 3 shunts on that, and you can sort of expand into that game, and again have a fun little micro layout. But yeah, again, shelf layouts are a great idea as well, aren't they? It's just something that you can just literally just put on the wall and enjoy.
Yeah, and maybe this is where you change. Maybe it's not about how long and deep something is. Maybe it's about the square footage of it. So, okay, so you've decided that you're only going to do 3 inches deep. This is this is going to be a nightmare to edit. You're doing something that instead of going for a foot, you're going for 3 inches. So actually, now that you've reduced the depth of the layout, can you increase the length of the layout? So then suddenly your shelf layout has a lot more playability in what it can do up and down. Is that something you think becomes viable in the micro discussion?
Yeah, why not? That's, I think so, definitely. I suppose it's just challenging yourself to see what you can fit in that small space.
Yeah.
One of the smallest ones I ever saw, and I even had a go at this as a kid. I think it might have been probably one of those model railway magazines that doesn't exist anymore. I think it was like Model Railway Enthusiast or something like that.
Right.
Because that this was a little tiny American switching layout rather than something British, but it stuck in my mind. And it was just this little N gauge thing, and all it was one point, and it was an the track, one straight piece of track essentially with a point in the middle, and then it would go to a siding that was on an incline. And the idea was that you needed to get the loco to run round the coach. And so you just bring the loco in, and then you switch the point, you push the coach up the hill, uncouple it, pin the brake down so it didn't roll back, then take the loco back into the station, switch the point, run the loco along, switch the point again, let go of the brake, let the coach roll into the station and bring the loco on. It was just a little fun little layout to have a play with, and I remember having a go and building that, and I just we had some N-gauge track lying around. We had a few, we had a loco and a bit of rolling stock, and yeah, like, my dad had a bit of wood, and it was couldn't have been no bigger than probably 6 inches by about probably maybe 3 inches wide. It was really, really tiny, like the smallest layout you could build, but just like this little fun little layout to play with. So yeah, you can really build some really small stuff and still have a bit of fun.
Yeah, that sounds really, really fun. I mean, maybe the elephant in the room here is so let's talk about the Emperor's Path exhibition layout. It's simplistic and it's one of the smallest oval layouts that you could make. Would you class that as a micro layout, or is that just a really small layout?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's interesting, isn't it? I would say because that kind of reminds me a bit like the layout Littleton Curve, which was in the off the top of my head the May 1995 Railway Modeler. I always loved that layout, and that was just a simple curve with one siding on it, and then a two-track fiddle yard at the back. If it's a circular track but it's so small, I'd say probably yeah. It's kind of fits in the micro layout category. Most micro layouts are obviously end to end with the intention of it fitting in a small space. But your intention of your circular layout there is I want something circular that fits in a small space. And I suppose you could go down to maybe radius one, but then that limits what you can run on your layout
Yeah.
to just, probably an 040 and four-wheel wagons. But yeah, again, maybe people need to say what they would. I'd say it was a micro layout. It's not massive. It's not full of junctions and signal, and sidings and a station. It's just a simple, tiny scene that goes in a circle.
Yeah. I think it's probably on the verge of being. I think if you went any bigger than that, it wouldn't be a micro layout. But I think the fact that it's 4x4, which allows it to sit on a dining room table if you wanted it to, is possibly one of the bigger double O gauge layouts that you can build. And because of how I've built it, it packs away into a 2x4 section. Yes, you could do because it's third and fourth radius curves, you could obviously go down to a single line so that it is just almost a branch line on it. And that would be absolutely fine as well. And obviously, the smaller the stock that you run on it, the less model toy train like it looks. Because definitely, when you're running stuff on the fourth radius curve, you can feel it being a little bit more model railway within reason. But the third radius, you have to really think about what you're running on there, because too long a rolling stock and it does look like a toy. But I mean, it's one of those things of, I sort of thought of this halfway through this conversation. And I was like, well, it is technically a micro layout, but it's not in the generic sense of how micro layouts are generally run, because it's an oval. That's the thing, is if it was just an end to end or just a shunting puzzle or a shed or something like that, you wouldn't think of it as a micro layout. But it being the smallest 00 gauge layout that you could probably do with 2 tracks, maybe it is.
Yeah, I suppose. Yeah, I probably put it in there. It's the probably the real extremities of what you could call a micro layout, but because of its intention of just being a circular track, and that's all it is. Maybe the micro is the minimalist idea of the layout as well, which allows it to be a micro layout. Definitely a small layout.
It's definitely a small layout. Which, if you're interested, it will be at Slough at the end of this month.
There we go, little plug there. I think we covered the subject quite well, to be honest. I think there's a few other things you obviously can do. It's various IKEA hacks that people have done over the years. I mean, the APA box, they don't make that anymore. That was really popular amongst Engage modelers for building micro layouts. Top of my head, APA Park is probably the most well-known one. That made it to magazines, and it was kind of that was Modern Image, and then again it was like shunting some slidings down the bottom, and then the little shuttle system of the DMUs on the top. So it was like two tier, all built in this little box, and they were quite popular until obviously IKEA pulled the idea. But I've seen a lot of people build layouts on the IKEA floating shelves that they do, which range around £6. So it's a really, really cheap baseboard. It'll give you your limitations of what you can and can't do with it. But, again, if you want to build a little layout and you're not one for woodwork, that's a perfect starting point. They come up to 6 foot lengths as well. So you could definitely build an Inglenook on one of them if that's how you wanted to start in the hobby.
That's a good
Pick
idea.
one of them up and get in there. Well, I think we've covered the subject quite nicely. And time for a break, I'd say.
Yes, I'm going to go build myself a little micro layout.
I've got to do a 009.
You there? Oh, me? Do you like model railways? Yes, that's why I'm listening to the Model Rail Replacement podcast. Do you like comedy? No, that's why I'm listening to the Model Rail Replacement podcast. If you like model railways and comedy, head over to BugglesKellyStation.com. From Dad's Army to Will Hay, Laurel and Hardy to the island of Sodor. Add a comedy cameo to your model railway today. All right, thanks. Buggles Kelly Station. You won't be wasting your time.
Right, well, we are. We're back then. Well, I say we're back. Me and Tom are back. And that was me and Sam having a nice little chat about micro layouts. So, yeah, have you ever built? I suppose you've done your dioramas. Your micro layout builder, Tom?
I've got one planned actually, because I've never done a proper micro layout. Depends on what's classed as a micro layout, I suppose. But I've got an O gauge one planned, just because I haven't got room for anything bigger. That I want to do it's probably an 8 foot wide with plus a little fiddle yard, which in O gauge is definitely micro. So yeah, that's what I've got plans for.
Definitely, yeah. I mean, that's what me and Sam were just talking about. Yeah, I've been kind to you because what I like to do to Steve is I just like to make it look like Steve listened to the conversation even though he hasn't. So then he has to blag it to pretend that he knows what me and Sam were talking about. But yeah, no, that was
really interesting. Yeah,
there we go. Yeah. But yeah, that was one of the things. Yeah, what counts as a micro layout? Yeah, I reckon sort of an 8 foot long plank kind of would class as a micro layout for O gauge.
Yeah,
that'd probably be it. Yeah, I'd go with that. I suppose anything longer than 2 coaches that can fit on the layout means it's not a micro layout. That's probably the best definition, I'd say.
Yeah, I suppose.
There we are. Well, the jury's out on that one. It's a micro out if you decide you want to call it a micro out. Shall we say it's that? Right then, Tom. I really should have done this at the beginning because apparently everyone switches off at the end, but more for them because they won't be able to find out about our amazing Christmas giveaway. Do you know about this?
I do. It sounds very exciting.
You do indeed, because you are one of the very kind people that has donated towards our Christmas raffle. So this year, we have decided to support Cash for Kids. It's a wonderful charity that helps deprived children, those in poverty and those in need, have a better life. And at Christmas, they like to collect donations so that they can buy presents for underprivileged children. So we are trying to raise as much money as possible. And by doing that, we're going to have a Christmas special episode on the 22nd of December. Our lips are sealed on what it will be. But to go along with that episode, we are running a raffle. And to enter the raffle, all you have to do is go to Just Giving. And if you go to the website and just look up for MERP Christmas Special, it will turn up in the Google search. I've already tried it. It does work rather than me trying to read out the horrendous web link that they try to get me to. So yeah, if you just Google Just Giving MERP Christmas Special, it will appear at the top of your search results. And if for every £5 you donate, you will get a ticket into our raffle and you could win either first, second or third prizes. And these prizes, there's some very, very good prizes in there. Tom knows what they are.
James? What are the prizes?
Well, we're not revealing what they are yet.
Oh.
We're just trying to tempt you in by who's donating, but there's some very good donations in there. And the current donators, that's a new word, isn't it?
It's a good word.
I like it.
It's
yeah.
the named donors.
That's it. The names, the donators. Yourself, Buggles Kelly Station, is donating a prize. Cavalex Trains is donating a prize.
I think their prize might be worth a bit more than my prize.
Their prize is a very good prize. That's all I'm saying. Lucy at Farkham is also donating to our draw. That is also a very good prize. Gauge Master have donated. I have been recipient of what they have donated, and again, it's a very good prize from Gauge Master. Hornby have a few prizes coming into the raffle. I've been told what they are. They're very good prizes. Model U will be donating as well. If you need to say, Model U do some very good figures, and it's a very good prize. In fact, they're all very good prizes because Little Layout Company is also donating a very good prize, as is Ron Lyons Model Shop. And even Steve, the British Railroader, has offered. Yeah, no one really knows, but it's always nice for an anonymous donor, isn't it? So
yeah,
they're the ones that usually give the best prizes. So I think he said his house or something like that. So, but, yeah, very, very kind. Thank you, Steve, whoever you are. But yes, that's the donators so far. As I said, there's some very good prizes. There obviously will be some merchandise included. And the winners of the draw will be announced on the Christmas special on the 22nd. So you'll have to listen to that, no matter how bad you think it is. Closing date.
It's going to be very good. It's going to be very good.
Yeah, we're hoping it's going to be very good. We've got lots of guest YouTubers coming on, giving up their time for it. But yeah, closing date to enter the raffle, because we've got to set one, because obviously we need one. We've started on the 14th of December. So you need to buy into the raffle by the 14th of December. If you miss that date, then, it's for charity. Why not donate anyway? And, just show your appreciation for the hard work that we've put in to try and make some children's lives just that little bit better at Christmas.
Yeah, it's a great cause. It's a great cause.
It is. I think it's a really good charity. I think it's very important for children to have a good Christmas, no matter the circumstances. So there we are. So yeah, just go to Just Giving. As I say, if you just Google search Just Giving MERP Christmas Special, it will turn up that way. Or Sam Beecher Jones. Either one will get you the result, and you can enter
the Sam
the raffle.
Beecher Jones ones. Does Sam get that money himself, or does that still go to the kids?
HR are opening an investigation on that one. There has been allegations made, especially as funds from the Patreon account have been going missing into someone else's Patreon account this week.
Yeah, thanks for that.
Did you get any? Did you get any new donors this week, Tom?
Yeah, I did actually. Yeah, thanks, Model Rail Replacement Podcast. That's much appreciated.
Yeah, we've sacked Steve. We assumed it was him. Must be the newbie.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was on a probationary period, and we've decided to terminate his contract. Sam said it was him. There we are. Shall we go to the exhibition diary?
Go on, this is my favourite bit.
Yes, yeah, I've checked. There's no Welsh places this week, so there's no
You'll still get
funny
them wrong.
funny
You'll still get
words.
them wrong.
Oh,
I'll
no,
give I'll
I
give a
get them.
little laugh if you say something wrong. I'll have a little titter. There you go.
I'm not the one getting it wrong. It's the people that live in those places are not pronouncing where they live correctly. It's their fault.
Okay.
It's there we are then. Right, we're from the calendar then and have a look for the upcoming weekend. This actually starts very early with Thursday the 16th to Sunday the 19th of October. The Midlands Model Engineering Exhibition at the Warwickshire Event Centre at the Foss Way, Leamington Spa, Warwickshire. And it's just described as the show for model engineers. So I think this is all types of model engineering, including the live steam stuff and probably like little miniature traction engines and things like that. So if you like that sort of thing, that's going on for 4 days. For 3 days, from Friday the 17th to Sunday the 19th, the Taunton Model Railway Group is having an open day. Platform 1 at Bishop's Lynyard Station at Station Road, Bishop's Lynyard in Taunton, Somerset. Alton Model Railway Group is having a railway modelling open day on the 18th at the Alton Maltings at Maltings Close in Alton, Hampshire. Chelmsford and District Model Railway Club, Chelmsford Model Railway Exhibition at St John Payne School in Patching Hall Lane in Chelmsford, Essex. Also on the 18th is the Beckenham and West Wickham Model Railway Club, South East London, largest one-day model railway show at the Forest Hill Boys School in Dakar. There we go. Got me. You got me. Dacres Road. What? I'm not sure how you pronounce that. There we go. Dacres Road? Whatever. If you live in London, you know where it is, right? Forest Hill, Greater London. Just look for the school. Forest Hill Boys School, you'll find it. The Ickham and District Society of Model Engineers, the Ickham Model Railway Exhibition. This is Ickham Village Hall at 33 Swapcleys Road in Ickham, Uxbridge, Middlesex. G-Scale Society at Kent Group is having an autumn indoor meet at the Christchurch and Hall at Luton Road, Luton, Chatham, Kent.
Oh, you got that
was a
one
Luton.
right.
I didn't, yeah. That's the correct way to say it, Steve tells me. I didn't know there was a Luton in Chatham. I knew there was one in Bedfordshire, but I mean, 2 Lutons, that's going too far, right? One's bad enough.
Too many.
That's too many. My mother's from Luton, so I can say these things. Yes, West Sussex Engage MRC is having an annual show at Shoreham Baptist Church in Weston Road, Shoreham by Sea in West Sussex. The 18th also sees the Kingsway Model Railway Society Open Day at the Kingsway Centre, 130 Kingsway in Wellingborough, Northamptonshire. There's also the Winchester American and Continental O-Gauge exhibition. That's one for Steve here, providing he's willing to go to King's School in Romsey Road in Winchester, Hampshire. There's also the Mid-Arc Promotions, Womborne or Womborne then Womborne Autumn Lex at the Womborne Civic Centre in Gravel Hill, Womborne, Staffordshire. All weekend for the 18th and 19th is Caister Rail, an annual model railway show in Caister Town Hall, High Street, Caister, Lincolnshire. 18th, 19th also sees the Dundee Model Railway Club annual model railway exhibition at the Aldella Community Complex in Tunbury Avenue, Dundee, Angus. There's the Greenock and District Model Railway exhibition. This is at Lykirk, formerly Dungarvan Church at 31 Union Street, Greenock, Ivor Clyde. Damn those Scottish names. I can't pronounce them either. There's a reason for borders. Stop language travelling across. Severn Valley Railway O-Gauge Group is having the Severn Valley Railway O-Gauge Get Together 2025, the Severn Valley Railway at the Engine House in Highley, Shropshire. Uckfield Model Railway Club all weekend is having the 40th Uckfield Model Railway exhibition at the Uckfield Civic Centre at Civic Approach in Uckfield, East Sussex. And on Sunday the 19th, this is the last one for the weekend, Paul and District Model Railway Society Model Railway Exhibition at the Corves Hill School in Higher Blandford Road, Broadstone, Paul, Dorset. And that is all for this coming weekend. There we go.
Well done.
I managed to get most of those names.
That's genuinely the best bit of the podcast.
Some people don't listen to it. They go. They leave. They've told Sam they leave. Don't even listen to the end, which I'm sure affects the numbers. You've got to listen all the way through, people. So otherwise, the algorithm thinks that you're not interested. It's
Yeah,
very
I can see
fickle.
that.
That's the same. I tell you what, the YouTube algorithm, that's a real pain at the moment, isn't it? It's
It is, yeah. It's it seems to be difficult to get any traction at all on anything on YouTube, really, because they seem to show you random things that you're not interested in. I don't know about you.
yes, bizarrely, I'm getting an algorithm feed which is the same as what Lenny gets on his channel. So obviously he watches a lot more Thomas-based videos, and I'm getting all sorts of Thomas stuff based come through. And why I am,
Yeah, sure,
you know,
sure.
why I am a Thomas enthusiast, I tend not to watch many of the Thomas videos
I can't believe we've
on YouTube.
mentioned Thomas again. It's just like
We go every week. We did really well. I think actually we mentioned it in Michael Layouts as well. I did actually. I mentioned the Reverend Wardrey's layout because he has a track plan in one of his special books, a shunting puzzle game that you could set up as a model railway.
yes.
I don't know if you'd be familiar with it,
Yes, I have it.
but there we are. But yeah, the algorithm, yeah, it does seem to be playing havoc with YouTubers. Our friend Laurie recently done a video in which he's saying he's been struggling to get views. I know that my older videos tend to be doing a lot better than anything new I'm putting out, which is very odd. And the algorithm seems to get stuck. You watch one channel, it'll then just play video after video of the same channel. So the other day, I watched this channel called the British Railroader, and I had about 4 videos play in a row.
I've never heard of it.
I mean,
Is it good?
well, if you want to go, if you want to get to sleep quick, I don't know. He was talking about ditch lights or something. It was all American.
I haven't got time for
But yeah, so yeah, if obviously you are on YouTube, try and like, subscribe, and share people's videos to try and boost them, because a lot of content creators are struggling at the moment trying to get their videos noticed. And if you don't do a YouTube channel, it is a lot of hard work to produce a good channel with decent content. So show your appreciation and try and promote as many as you can.
You just have to look at Emperor's
I'm
Path.
going to give you yes, exactly. He did really well, didn't he? He did a video every week almost on his TT, and he got him noticed. And then as soon as he got the nomination, he stopped doing videos. You notice that?
Oh, bless his good little southern boy.
There's no way he can cut all this out. If he cuts one bit out, there'll be no context to the rest of the conversation. So he'll have to leave the whole lot in. Or he'll get to this point thinking he's cut it all out, and then he'll realise that he's going to have to put it all back in.
He doesn't listen after the events diary either.
No, he doesn't know. He switches off. So there we are. Right, we're talking to YouTube then, Tom, and all that gubbins. If people want to find you, then how can they find you?
Yeah, on YouTube, just look for Buggles Kelly Station. That's me. I'm on Facebook as well, and Instagram. Buggles Kelly Station everywhere. Twitter. Just search for Tom Marshall. I'll come up. No, search for Buggles Kelly Station, and I'm on all the social medias. But YouTube, that's what I'm trying to promote. So get on there, have a look at my latest video, building the T-gauge diorama, and let me know what you think. That'd be great.
Yeah, it's a very good watch. It's a very good watch. I do recommend it. So there we go. Yeah, well, if you want to find me, it's Weston Signalman on YouTube, Instagram. I think that's about it these days. But don't forget that the Model Rail Replacement Podcast, we try to get it everywhere. So we are also on Instagram. We are on YouTube. We are on Facebook, although we very rarely interact with it. So apologies there. And also we have an email address, and it's modelrailrp, that's Romeo Papa, at outlook.com. That's all for this week. Next week, Sam should be returning as we dig him out from behind the sofa. But for now, all I can say is that hopefully we've been entertaining, informative, and replaced your model railway, if only just for a little bit. I've been James, with me's been Tom, and obviously Sam managed to weasel his way in the middle. Thanks for listening.
Cheers. Bye.
This service terminates here. Please ensure you take all of your personal belongings with you.
Hello, listeners. We've got some very exciting news. Do you want to be part of the podcast? Do you want to join the team? Well, an exciting opportunity has come up to allow you to be part of the Model Rail Replacement podcast. And here's Sam with the details.
This episode is brought to you by Patreon. A huge thank you to our Patreons for their support. If you'd like to help support the show, you can head over to Patreon and search Model Rail Replacement Podcast, where you can show your support and be part of the team.
Hurry, there's unlimited places.